design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me as always is Ben Slinger.
Yes, I am. We're coming in hot today on this episode of Bitstorm.
I'm trying to G myself up because I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it's true. We've spent longer than our usual preamble off mic chatting.
We had a lot to talk about and laugh about.
That's it. It's been a week. But here we are.
It has.
Doing the podcast.
In fact, you know what happened earlier this week, Ben? We released a game for a game jam.
That's correct.
And we haven't talked about it yet.
No,
so
we haven't.
Let's have a quick
little
discussion.
plug. So if you are a fan of games like Case of the Golden Idol or the recent sequel Rise of the Golden Idol, Return of the Obra Dinn, those sort of deductive reasoning kind of investigation games, then we ripped those off completely, particularly Golden Idol.
No, we borrowed heavily from the
gameplay. And the jam
and the mechanic.
Yeah. The jam was the Adventure X jam, which is for narrative games. And so we made, a little deductive game set at a LAN party in 1997 and is called LAN Party 97, appropriately enough.
Yeah, appropriately enough.
So
we were old enough to be around 17 at that time, which is why it fits right in into when we were playing LAN parties.
Very, very nostalgic. So, if you want to go check that out, you can go to bslinger.itch.io and find it on there. I think, Trevor, I need to make you an admin and then you can have it on your itch as well if you want. But
okay, cool. Yeah. Because I can't currently comment on anyone else's as a submitter of a game.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you're our conduit to the world at the moment. But
that's it.
No, I've got to say we did take on different roles this time. Mm-hmm. This time I actually took on the lead program.
Yes.
Role, which we normally give to you, and you took on art and story.
Yep.
Normally we would work on that sort of stuff together, but
just the timing of it, and
what time we had, and
that's it.
And the coding did take a little bit longer than what I thought, but I think the way that we got it working in the end actually works better than anything I was expecting when we first started.
It worked out. It worked out great. And look, it was a 2-week jam, which I think for we scoped it really well. We needed it because we weren't working on it nonstop. There were clearly some games in the jam where they were putting in a lot of hours every day, even just from sort of art requirements and that sort of thing. And we don't have that sort of time, but that's the beauty of a 2-week jam. We could put in an hour or two
time that you can, and
in each evening. I found it very calming actually once I'd put the initial art in place to just do all the coloring and shading and stuff with Netflix on in the background, and it was quite good. So I'm enjoying my little foray into art recently with the game jam stuff. We've got the global game jam coming up in less than 2 months, which is exciting.
You've already bought your ticket for. I'm very soon going to be buying my ticket for.
Yes, so we're very much in that mode. Of actually building stuff, which is great.
Games. I mean, you've made 3 games.
I've done 3 jams in like the last 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah. We were going to do another one. We were going to do a month-long jam, but it was like we knew that we couldn't actually give the time that we needed to that.
Yeah.
And then somehow time freed up a little bit in the middle, and it's like, okay, I've got like 2 weeks that I can sort of spend a bit more time on this. And
I think it's just very much, I think for this jam, and I know we're talking about this a lot, but whatever, it's our podcast.
It's game related.
It's game related. I think it was when I saw the theme, actually. I was like, I just happened to see the theme on the very first day of the jam, and the theme was 3 rules. And I was like, oh, that is actually a really compelling theme. Like, there's just so many things you can do with that, and having that like sort of restraint on there, and the fact that we bould both just played through Rise of the Golden. Well, and we'd both just played through Rise of the Golden Idol, and so again, like I could immediately see how that sort of gameplay could work with that theme, and then we just sort of went from there. So
yeah, okay.
But let's get on.
That's talking about real games. Now let's talk about games that are never going to exist.
Yeah.
This week we're going to play like we did last week.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to play with some movie tie-ins.
That's it.
This is just taking some prompts, taking some movies and going, how can we mash these two movies together and see what sort of game tie-in would come out of this?
That's it. Yeah. Doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be super related to the movie itself. It's just a jumping off point.
Yeah. It's all we need is we are so bereft of ideas ourselves. That
we need that little spark.
We take that little spark.
Yeah.
And that comes from either a theme or we get it from, words.
Yeah.
So 3, 2, 1 movie.
The Last Exorcism.
The Descendants.
Okay. Is that the Disney one? Like the Disney villains?
No. The Descendants is the George Clooney.
What am I thinking of? What's the villain? What's the one with the villain's kids?
I know which one you're thinking about. There's like 3 of them.
Yeah. Is it Descendant? Yeah. Is it that? Anyway. Whatever. Okay. It doesn't matter. We could make it that if we wanted. No, I like, because with Exorcism, I like this being like the descendant of someone who is being
someone
possessed.
Who was.
Yeah. Like,
like their grandmother was exorcised many, many years ago, but.
Yeah, some bringing
something
back
has actually
some
sort of curse has remained on the family.
Through the family line. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Okay, I love that. That's a great starting off point.
How is there something interesting sort of gameplay mechanically that we could do with exorcisms? I wonder if having funnily enough, like, and maybe it's just because it's on the mind, like having particular rules, like having to figure out, like there's the classic, holy water, cross, say the words, power of Christ compels you, or whatever.
Yeah.
Each exorcism, you're essentially having to like study the effects to find out what demon it is. And then based on that, use the right tools, use the right
I can almost see like
things.
A dark side detective style adventure game here of, you go and analyze, do your initial investigation in the place and see, okay, this one, their head is rotating like that movie.
It's rotating counterclockwise, not clockwise. So that's important. Got to go look it up in your research book.
And then, I think Dark Side Detective really feels like the right place to go with this, in the fact that, essentially you can then just go, between the scenes, you're not actually moving on each of the screens. Your characters are there so that you can actually talk to them and that sort of stuff. But you can then move on to the next scene and you're not having to do all that animation stuff.
Yeah, doing it as a simple point and click like that, where it's more these sort of more static scenes that you're moving between.
I mean, the way I kind of see it is, these exorcisms, the reason why they take so long to actually happen, you got to actually go and investigate and see these are the rules that for
absolutely.
For this one. This is what I noticed. And it's like, when you go to deduce it, it's like, there are actually 3 different demon types that have their heads go anti-clockwise. But, there's a specific color of the puke that I can look into. Yep. So you get your Pantone book out
to put up your color swatches. Well, I think you could, there are a couple of ways you could do it. I think if you were doing it as essentially a point and click, then you do it as like, you're an exorcist and you go case by case. But they're all different then. They're all going to be, very different. And it's more about, okay, how do I solve this particular one to find the right, it is generally about how do I expel this demon, or spirit or whatever. But, you're probably going through it with different methods. The other way that I was thinking potentially is that this could slot into that sort of recent trend of ghost hunting or sort of games, with where some of those are like, there's these different type of spirits and they will appear in different ways or have different rules associated with them, that it could almost be a bit like that, whether you still do it, you could still do it in that point and click way, or you could do it more as like a first person thing where it's like, okay, you come into the room, this person's in there, they're chained to the wall or whatever, like, you know, chained to tied up in the curtains or something, because that's the only way their partner could restrain them. And you have to sort of talk to them and observe. And then, you've got your little fucking computer or whatever where you can look up the,
okay, every third word is a curse word. That either is, that they like to swear a lot, or it's the trait of this team.
Yes, yeah.
you don't know.
Yeah, you have to go and talk to the partner. It's like, nah, she was like that before.
and having also recently, we played the Demon Masquerade that we saw at PAX.
Yeah.
Like, that book had so much depth into it of all the demons.
Yes.
I could imagine a book like that.
Absolutely. So it's got a ton of stuff in there that you're never going to see in this game. But it
goes over many cases, and it's always the same book that you go back to. So you've read through, the 112 demons that it could potentially be.
Yeah. And so it's only when something like strikes you, oh, hang on, that, something they said, or the language that they, maybe you have to catch the few words of the language that they said, figure out what language it was, look it up in the book to see like their origin, the place of origin for that demon. I like that a lot, actually. That's really cool.
Yeah. I love these ideas, and just the fact that you're a descendant of someone who's actually been through this. So you've kind of got that curse on you, but it's more, you're cursed with knowledge almost that this is actually real, and therefore.
Well, I think that could very much be sort of just part of your the sort of the overarching
reason why you became an
exorcist
exactly,
because of like your backstory.
You wanted to help other people when no one else believed that your grandmother was actually cursed, and that's
so you started down that path of sort of paranormal. Yeah, I like that a lot. Actually,
that's really cool.
I like mixing the deductive stuff with some of that. I actually kind of like it in that first person view of those style of games at the moment, because you could do some interesting, hide some stuff. It's about looking around the room. You could have some fun interactions with the possessed, vary up how that works in each case, obviously, but you can't get too close, but you need to be able to, scan something that's near them or whatever, or find,
Yeah. Or find,
take some blood from them or something.
There's a certain demon that, it's very similar to another one, but they do a certain thing, and it's like the way to get rid of them are two separate things, but, if you do the wrong thing, you'll actually increase their power, sort of thing. Yeah. So you need to make sure that you've got the right deduction.
Well, and that could be a fun way to have, potentially alternate endings to each case. It's like, if you get it wrong, you're going to get the bad ending to that case, essentially, where they like kill their partner or, whatever it is.
After the fact, after they look like they've been, but instead what's actually happening. And I think this is where you can actually come into it. Like the look of possession is just the body fighting it off. And, so basically they look like they're possessed, and, in that classic, they're getting all sickly looking and all this sort of stuff. And it's because it's the body is fighting.
Well, and again, I think those could be clues.
And either one that comes out, like if the demon wins or if they're exorcised, it still looks exactly the same.
The body goes back because it's not actually fighting against,
it's not fighting
spirits.
against it anymore, because you've ripped the soul out of one of the things.
That's cool. I mean, that's the thing. You could come up just with some interesting lore. Like you obviously wouldn't make it religious based like the movie. You'd get rid of any Christianity stuff or religious stuff, particularly
Christianity. It can just be science based.
Well, that's the thing. You'd sort of come up with this science behind it. Where certain symbols, certain things, these
are actually interdimensional beings, or from.
I mean, they can still be.
Other planets,
I guess demons themselves are. I mean, I feel like Christianity doesn't own demons. Like that's been around. The concept itself, whatever you want to call them, has been around for a long time. But I love that. That's really cool.
And it goes right down our favorite line at the moment of deduction games.
Yes, that's definitely the mode we're in.
I'm very close to wanting to play Return of the Obra Dinn again. Like,
yeah.
Because I don't think I remember everything about it. So
it could be about that time. Could be. All right, 3, 2, 1 movie.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1 movie.
Walk the line.
Acts of violence.
Ooh, okay.
So, Acts of Violence looks to be a film, one of the last films that Bruce Willis did.
Like it's a recent one?
2018.
Okay.
When his fiancée is kidnapped by human traffickers, Roman and his ex-military brothers set out to track her down and save her before it's too late. Along the way, Roman teams up with Avery, a cop investigating human trafficking and fighting the corrupt bureaucracy that has harmful intentions.
Whereas Walk the Line is essentially the story of Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
But I do like just taking the title of that, the idea of the line that has to be walked, whether it's some sort of, what's the word? Like some sort of journey, pilgrimage, whether there's some sort of pilgrimage or it's some sort of, like, I almost thought, is this a tightrope walking? Like, is this what they call tightrope walking? It's like we go, well, it's walking the line tonight or whatever. Like, you could have some interesting stuff there. Is this a action, like a fast action fighting game, kind of like My Cousin Pedro? But it's all on tightropes.
My friend Pedro.
Not my cousin. But it's all on, it's all tightropes. It's all high beams tightropes or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so you got the acts of violence as, the things that you're doing on these tightropes.
Yeah. Well, and also the acts of violence, the physical acts.
Yeah, rather than ACTS.
Yeah, it's AXE. This is my acts of violence.
Walk the line, acts of violence.
Yeah, that's a subtitle for sure.
Okay, yeah, I love that. So this guy was, the world's best, tightrope walker.
Yeah,
and I think, he had a double act with his twin brother. And something happened and
it was sabotage though.
Yeah.
And he survived, his brother didn't.
They lived, but they're now, injured and paralyzed and that sort of stuff. I think that's a little bit of a better way to
than just completely fridging them.
Than just yeah.
Don't
want to fridge them. You want to have, they're having a great life. They've met a partner, they've settled down, they've got kids.
Right, they don't care. Actually, they weren't that into it. But you were going for revenge.
But I think that you find out that it was actually a setup, and you were the intended target.
Yeah, okay.
And so you happen to now be going down and chasing down this international team. I think you could even do they tried actually getting you in kind of like a, Kill Bill, how there was like a team that she wanted to get away from. This is actually your old crew,
tightrope crew, your old trapeze crew or something.
Well,
it could be that
you were the tightrope walker because
right.
you could,
of course,
walk along to walk along wires to basically get in and get other people in.
So they weren't performing; they were like
they were a heist crew, and they basically wanted to take you out.
I kind of like the idea better that they're just circus performers, but they take it so seriously that like when you left the group, it was just like, nah, we're gonna kill him. Cause it's just like this high stakes circus performing. Cause I was going to say, then you can have like, well, one dude's like the trapeze. One guy's the one who can stand on top of the like high poles. Two of them.
Well, there's no reason why you couldn't have all those reasons to, in this Ocean's 12 crew.
Yeah, they could still be circus performers.
We need the tightrope walker, the trapeze, the safe cracker, the
two who can
pole stander,
the two who latch onto each other and roll like a wheel.
Yeah. They're the wheelman.
The wheelman. Yeah.
They're not the driver. They're the wheelman.
It's basically all the characters from A Bug's Life, but
I just love how you've got the driver and the wheelman, and people keep on confusing them. It's like,
it's like, you're the wheelman. Yeah, so you good behind, good in a vehicle. It's like, what? No, I don't have my license. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? We make a wheel. Like, how would that help?
It's very distracting. We wear very tight shorts, and with the wheel, we face outwards, so it's actually quite painful.
It's quite painful. Like my nose wasn't always this flat.
Yeah.
It was usually pointy.
Okay, from a gameplay perspective, though, I kind of like this idea of it's like balancing. Like you're going along this rope balancing, but you're having to balance and then take shots at the same, like you're shooting at the same time. Other people on different tight
3D.
ropes. I'm thinking 3D.
I was thinking 2D, and it was just you're so good at it that you don't really have to balance as such. It's more
right. I mean, you could do that.
It's a side scroller.
I feel like it would just feel like then a rope would just feel like a platform. I feel like you got to have some level of balance in there.
You get shot, then you got to do a.
Well, that's it, and I'm not. And I don't think
you've only got melee.
I don't think
because you got an axe. You got the axe of violence.
Right. I think you can throw it though. I don't know. Maybe it comes back.
I mean, your brother also did like axe throwing, on the side.
Yeah, boomerang axe throwing. I mean, I don't know how realistic you have to get with.
It's just got the Kratos,
Yeah, it just brings it back for sure. Well, that's it, because I think having to keep your balance somewhat, and you wouldn't have it as punishing as like, I mean, I'm thinking the manuals in Tony Hawk, which aren't quite the same, but like that sort of thing. Yeah. You wouldn't have it super punishing, but if you did like, it's almost having to balance, like if you, whether it's a gun or an axe or whatever, like if you throw towards the right like 5 times, then it's pushing you slightly off balance in the other direction each time, and you have to kind of counter that in some way, whether it's just by leaning or then like throwing in the other. Like I think just having the balance play into it then,
okay, yep,
really makes it a bit, makes it somewhat interesting. And then I mean, it could almost be somewhat of an on rails, almost literally. Shooter in a sense, but there's almost this strategy now about, okay, well, who do I take out next?
Yeah.
Or how do I like dodge them or whatever? Because this balance aspect is in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go.
Cool. 3 to 1 click.
Rollerball.
Ghosted.
Ooh. Okay. So I haven't seen Rollerball, but I'm aware of its sort of influence on culture and stuff, because it's a future ultra-violent sport in a corporate-controlled future. I think there was what was that game? There was a sprite game that it wasn't like Murder Ball or something. I don't know. Anyway. There was a game that I think was inspired heavily by it in the 80s.
Most likely.
But then Ghosted, I like the idea again of having some sort of...
So, before you think of what Ghosted actually is, it's different to what you think.
The movie itself? Okay, I don't know. I don't know what the movie is. Go ahead.
Salt of the earth, Cole falls head over heels for enigmatic Sadie, but then makes the shocking discovery that she is...
a ghost.
No, a secret agent. Before they can decide on a second date, Cole and Sadie are swept away on an international adventure to save the world.
Right. So the ghosted just comes from that you didn't show up for the second date or something, and then
something like that. I don't know.
It's a rom-com. Is it a Hallmark? That's too creative for a Hallmark movie.
There's too creative for a Hallmark movie.
Yeah. But it's along those lines.
I do like the idea of an everyman falling in love with someone only to find out that she's this international star of this rollerball.
Yeah. Yes. That's where I was kind of going. That either, well, and I think you'd play her then, because I feel like you need to, or you play him and he's trying to get into it because he wants to share in her.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's just the idea that she's amazing at it and you suck.
Yes.
And
that gives you a reason to start
you're
off
gradually
at level
learning.
0. Yeah.
A la baby steps. It's quad controls.
Well, but it's on roller skates, so you're having to move the thumbsticks to the left and right, and if you move them too far apart, your legs will, you'll do the splits.
Because you're pushing back, it's pushing down because you're pushing back.
Oh,
each
yeah,
time.
maybe. But I mean, I think there's still a left and right aspect for how far apart your legs are, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you're rising through the ranks. Initially, you're literally just having to learn how to roller skate. But this is a full contact sport.
Yeah.
And you very soon have people coming up and starting to shove you around, and then eventually, literally, they have, I mean, if we go by the movie poster for Rollerball, like spiked fists and like full on blood drawing weaponry.
It's one of those underground sort of things. Like it's set in the real world, but this is like an underground sport that is betted on by so many international people, and she's actually
like
really
number
good
one almost, or she's in the top, she's in the elite players of it, but it's quite dangerous for her then, because it is this illegal sport.
The higher that you get, the more
likely it is
on your back.
Yeah, that it won't just be in the game that you're having to fight people off, but they're trying to hobble you outside and bring you down.
Oh my God.
That's real. I love that. I think I like the idea though, like you never get to her level. This is not a game of
no.
This is not a story of like, oh, you eventually surpass her. It's like, no, there's no way. She's been training for decades. You're literally just trying to share.
Her father is the creator of Rollerball. Like, so she's
a
been
nepo baby
from the second that she was born. She was put in roller skates.
She's put in roller skates and spike gloves.
And taught how to roller skate.
Yeah.
This is, the reason why she's one of the elite four, a la, in your Pokemon sense, she's like the champion is because, she's trained for this her entire life.
Yeah.
You're coming in and your eventual aim of the game is to make it to 18.
Yeah.
Like
in the minor leagues.
In the minor leagues. And that way you can at least travel with her continuously.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can decide. We'd have to decide how far you go in the progression. But I do like the idea. I'm feeling this game as you've got the thumbsticks for controlling your skates basically, and then the triggers are essentially a Road Rash-esque, like swing left or swing right, with whatever weapon you've managed to get. But then just very physics based, movement and stuff. I'm picturing
it's kind of like
a lot of wacky
roller derby, but with a sport aspect of as in, a ball and, a goal and all this sort of stuff. I don't know whether that's a thing that actually happens in the game.
In the movie? Oh, in the movie, yeah. Yes, I think so. I think there is. I mean, it's called Rollerball. I think there is a ball involved. So yeah, I like that a lot. And having you have to, the way you turn is just by skating one foot more than the other sort of thing or something. Yeah. Like it's almost like a,
and then, you got like the single player aspect that is very much you're learning to do that. But then there's all this narrative in between.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sort of
yeah.
And I think even
going on and trying to find out who's trying to take her out and all this sort of stuff.
I think you put in, some
intrigue and
little vignettes and stuff in between, maybe even some training stuff, like where you can make choices about, what sort of training to do or how to spend your time in between.
And then you got the multiplayer mode, which is actually, like a competitive league.
Oh, yeah, that's it. We balance it all up. I love the idea of an esport where it's basically co-op controls.
So if you get really good at it.
That's it. I think we can put a lot of nuance into the controls then where you can, I think putting down the brake, like maybe the bumpers are your brakes on it. Like you can, put your foot down to brake a bit with that foot or something. So you can kind of do spins and skids and, different moves.
Cool.
But now I'm just picturing like you put your brake on your right and you put your left thumbstick all the way out to the left to just put your leg out to the side, and you basically do like a huge spin kick kind of move to really get that momentum going. I love that.
3-1 movie.
Yeah,
I think we'll do one more.
This one will be quick. I mean, we always say that. Depends how we go. But all right, The Spider Within, a Spider-Verse story. I don't even know what that is. Is that like a short or something that they did for Spider-Verse?
Little Miss Sunshine.
Okay, The Spider Within Little Miss Sunshine. I feel like this is
I
horror.
love Little Miss Sunshine. It's such a
the movie's great.
So I'm thinking a van road trip sort of thing.
Okay, so you take that aspect of
but with a bit of a Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Sort of thing that I'm reading about what the Spider Within is about, and Miles experiences a panic attack that forces him to confront the manifestations of his anxiety.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much we need to take of that. That's clearly just a sort of a little side story that they put in there. But
the idea of like he's away on a family trip and some massive thing happens in New York.
And he has to get back.
The only way for him to get back is to take this bus trip. And it's just,
Okay. I do like the idea of, I was going to say low stakes. Obviously, the stakes are relatively high, but like the end of the game is you getting to New York and you find out that like Peter's handled it or something. But that it's this story of Miles feeling anxious, needing to get back because New York needs him.
To get away from the city because he's so anxious. So he gets away from the city with friends.
Then like hearing
and
about
then
this
something massive happens and he needs to be back in the city and
like something's happened to his spider suit and his web fluid. Like he can't just, I mean, he's out in the middle of nowhere. There's nowhere to swing from. He can't even, if he's going to, he doesn't have a
swing
fast
from
way
a
to
tree
get there.
straight into the ground.
Yeah.
Like they're not
it's like in the middle of the desert or something.
What? I'm going to swing from a cactus?
That's cool. So do you think it's just him then? Like, is he, you say you reckon he's literally catching a bus like a Greyhound or something?
I think he ends up kind of in one of those family sort of buses trying to get back to New York. Like he's hitchhiked and having to meet up with these quirky characters that are just trying to get back to New York as well. And, it seems to be the fastest way for him to get back.
Yeah.
And it's just, the hijinks that can sort of happen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's getting continuous notifications like, Miles, where are you?
When he has service.
When he has service, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. And then you find out like one of the people you're traveling with is a wannabe villain or something. He's actually going there to beat Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I like that. And then, but it's basically just an adventure game then almost, or like one of these, dialogue-driven ghost, narrative sort of things.
I remember, I can't remember what the game was actually called, but there was like a game where you were traveling from this planet to another planet and you were having conversations at light speed with people back on Earth.
Oh.
And the conversations were just sort of happening over, like they were experiencing time differently to your.
It was like an indie game, right?
It was an indie game, and it was by someone who pretty sure has actually been on this podcast.
Yeah. What was that?
Was that by John?
It might have been, yeah. John Kane.
Yeah.
Killing Time at Light Speed, yeah.
Yeah. And there's something about that of every time that you get signal again, it's like the conversation is continued on. There's something fun about that of, you know, you're gradually getting there. You know that it's going to take, you know, quite a few hours for you to get back. So it's sort of like this thing of your anxiety that is rising and rising and rising, that you're not there to help your friends. You don't have service most of the time because you're, you know, maybe you can't get enough battery power. Like your battery keeps on dying. So you're only getting this small amount of time to actually message. And it's all that, you know, fighting the anxiety as you're just dealing with these mundane,
absolutely,
conversations.
Yeah. There have been a couple of other games that I never end up finishing them, but in the style of the Don't Nod games as well. Yeah. You know, that sort of just narrative sort of thing with sort of minor puzzle aspects and yeah, like that works really well for telling that sort of story. And I could see it in the Spider-Verse-ish style, right? Like, and which would actually translate pretty well.
Yeah.
Over to a game.
That's really cool.
Cool.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of tonight.
I think it does. So if you would like to find our previous episodes online, go to podchaser.com/bitstorm, check them out, give us a review, and also check out the Game Jam game that we did recently at bslinger.itch.io.
Yeah.
It's called Land Party 97.
97.
Yeah.
So if you like the song that we play at the start and end of each episode, that song is called Mount Defiance. It's off the album Containment Failure by the band Kuradust, and that can be found at kuradust.bandcamp.com for free.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I think I've figured out what demon you have inside you, Trev. Just vomit for me again and we'll...